Hi, I'm James Eade. Welcome to Eat It. This is a new show on the channel airu.tv. And if you go to that, you'll see previous shows from previous seasons. And this one is going to be my perspective on different questions that are being submitted. And the questions that you can ask, anyone can ask, I'm going to crawl across the bottom of the screen is info@airu.tv. Submit your questions there. And one of my good friends, Rick Rosner, who I call the eye candy of the show, is going to read them out, and we're going to discuss whatever it is. But I want you to know that I'm a recovering addict. And right now, I can tell you that although I bent my knee to the tyranny of addiction, I now hold my head high and look people in the eye, which is the power of choice has been restored to me. And I want to have this show be an inspiration in terms of sharing my experience, strength, and hope that you can do it too. All human beings have the power and potential to recover. It doesn't matter how far down you've gone, because your experience can be useful to someone else. When they've given up all hope, you can provide a spark of hope, and you never know who it's going to affect. But there is another reason that I'm doing this show. It's a very selfish reason, but I've written a book about my successes and my failures. It's called No Blame, No Shame, because I don't think that blaming anyone else for the choices that I've made serves any purpose. And I have no shame, because addiction is a scourge across our country, across the world. And if you have suffered from it, or if a family member has suffered from it, do not be ashamed. Shame is the lowest vibration that you can have. And you cannot make any good choices from the vibration of shame. So rise above it. We all have that power and potential to rise above, change our vibration to a higher level so we can make better choices, better decisions, and be of use to our fellows. So I've also written a different book. It's about the same subject, though. It's called Freedom, because when I was addicted, I surrendered my power of choice. And I've regained it, and I do not want to give it up again. And that freedom has been a gift that I give to myself every morning. So enough about me. I'm going to bring in Rick Rosner.
Hey, hello.
Thank you for joining us. And I do want to, I'm very curious about the question that you have. Rick, you obviously Emmy nominated, but you live in LA, right?
Yeah, well, the Pod TV, the head of the network, when he found out that if many years ago I got nominated for an Emmy, he thought we should put that in my slug there down there, and so that's fine. I wasn't nominated today, even though the nominations came out today.
Okay, so you got passed over. Is there a grudge in
Yeah,
there?
I got passed over by virtue of not having written anything that's been on television in a freaking decade.
They have short memories in LA.
Yeah. All right, so I do have a question from
Okay.
Nathaniel Carnahan from Providence, Rhode Island, and I'm paraphrasing, but Nathaniel writes, so my friend who is politically conservative is worried that brown people and Muslims will take over America because they reproduce at a higher rate. They have more kids on average than white people who have fewer than 2 kids per family. And I think, Nathaniel writes, that his worries are ill-founded, and that if we're gonna worry about anything, we should worry about the encroachment of technology, particularly AI. What say you, James?
Okay, I gotta ask this question because I'm not sure I'm going to answer the right one. Is the question about people of different skin tones taking over the country, or is that not as big a concern as technology, AI?
So the writer is saying that, well, if you're going to worry about something, and in the case of AI, shouldn't you be more worried about tech taking over than brown people or Muslims?
Well, absolutely, I agree with with Nathaniel. The uh, rise of AI is we're just on the cusp of it. This change is not going to go away tomorrow. It's not going to level off tomorrow. It's going to escalate. So it's like a little hockey stick. We didn't have any issues with AI taking over, and now it's soaring. And what does that mean? Well, when I wrote the book, let's see if I can just refresh my memory. Oh yeah, No Blame, No Shame. When I wrote that, one of the people I gave it to asked, "Did you write it or did AI write it?" And I was momentarily offended. And then I realized that's a good question because, I do use spell check. So I'm using some other intelligence, a better speller than me. And I use Grammarly so that if I'm grammatically incorrect, it corrects me. So who am I to be on my high horse and say that I don't use AI? But I think that they were referring to like Chat GPT or something like that. And you might know more about this. I'm not a
Yeah, because
user.
I talk with Claude AI, which is just one of the leading AIs, and I'm writing a book, and I've found that if I want, it makes good suggestions. So if I want to use it, and people disagree by how much use is cheating, but how whatever degree I would want to use Claude to give me ideas, or even probably slugs of prose, I could do that. And um, there are ethical rules that are being developed about disclosing, but I'm sure that people cheat like crazy. And in TV, we were talking. I just as an experiment, I said, "Hey Claude, pitch me 10 shows that might be popular in the year 2035," and it gave me 10 within seconds, and all of them seemed plausible. Now, their Claude kind of, I thought, went too heavily into plots based on climate change, but that climate change will be a thing. We've been, the
People in
whole
Europe are experiencing it now. Yeah.
people in hill country of Texas experience tragedy from,
Absolutely. Sorry.
so,
Yeah.
but anyway, like all these pitches, none of these pitches I would have been embarrassed to pitch to a development exec.
So the quality is high. When we used to, as a chess master, I was around for the growth of the computer playing engines, and at first they were a joke. They would play a move that was just silly, and I dismissed them as everybody did. And then not that long afterwards, they got very good, and I could buy a product off the shelf that I had trouble beating. And then I could buy a product off the shelf that I couldn't beat. And then IBM's Deep Blue beat the world chess champion. And it was within the same decade. It was amazing to watch how good they got so fast. It was basically the chips got faster and the processing power.
But now with AI self-teaching,
Yes.
you have, chess engines that are absolutely unbeatable by any human.
Correct. And they're playing each other and teaching each other. Yes.
And they have to, chess tournaments are having to come up with all sorts of ways to make sure that human players are not receiving hints from, like one chess player a couple of years ago was accused of having a buzzer hidden in his butt that was giving him tips on what moves to make.
Yeah, that accusation, I know the player involved, I know where it happened, and that accusation was false. But it really hurt his career. He stopped getting invitations to important tournaments, and the accusation of cheating was bad enough.
Use computers to predict what is going to happen, like on a roulette wheel in a casino, or to help you count cards in a casino. And people have been busted with computers in their shoes that send signals to their toes. These people get caught because they have weird betting patterns.
Yeah, double down. So all of a sudden I bet in. All in on this bet.
Let's talk about demographics. So Islam, The religion has been around for 1400 years, has not taken over the world. Christianity, 2000 years, hasn't taken over the world. White people, I don't know, been around for freaking forever, white people are less than 20% of the people on earth, which seems surprising because we're in a country that's majority white. But you know, Chinese people, Mexican people, you know, Hindus, no demographic has managed to take over the world in the history of humanity. We're still, you know, there's still a huge variety across the world.
It's not for lack of trying, though.
Yes, from time to time, you know, there's a push. But also, no demographic is particularly more skilled than, unlike AI, which keeps getting smarter and smarter. You know, these various demographics contending for power, if they are no smarter than humans were 10,000 years ago. And demographically, I just read that the number of AIs will exceed the number of humans in the world sometime in the 2030s. Now, I don't know exactly what that means. Like if you have a smart refrigerator that tells you that, you know, you're running low on cottage cheese, I guess that's an AI. But I don't think your refrigerator is going to take over the world. But I read I had a friend who's in tech said that there will be 1 trillion AIs by the year 2100, which is more than 100 AIs per human. So that seems like a demographic takeover. And there's other technology that's taken over. We are about 3 years away from having an average of 2 guns for every adult American in the whole country. And now it's not like guns have taken over the country, but they are, you know, a problem. About 100 Americans die from guns on average a day. Yeah. And that's not going away.
Yeah.
Smartphones. The first smartphone was introduced 18 years ago. And now, the first iPhone introduced 18 years ago. And now there are 7.2 billion smartphones in the world. That's more than 1 smartphone per adult in the world. There are only about 6 billion adults, obviously some kids have phones too, but you know, they're everywhere. Everybody has them. Rich countries, poor countries. That's a demographic takeover. Cars kill about the same number of people as guns in America. And we're entering probably the end of the era where there's an average of close to 1 car per adult American. And so, you know, that's a tech takeover. There used to be horses every place 120 years ago.
Yeah.
Now, you know, nobody's speaking out for the horses saying, you know, cars, you know, made us go away. But, you know, obviously technology continues to improve and can spread rapidly across the world.
The technology in cars is pretty advanced now. Do you think there's a technological gun in our future? An AI gun?
In some ways there should be. There's a thing called a biometric lock, and it's well-established technology, and it allows only you, if you're the gun owner, or I guess you can program it for more than, you know, a member of your family. The trigger won't pull for anybody except the people that you've told the gun to. But the NRA hates that. They consider that gun control.
Right.
So a major gun manufacturer attempted to bring out a line of biometric guns, and the NRA excoriated them, and it led to all sorts of business problems for this gun manufacturer, which is ridiculous.
Absolutely.
But
I stand in the way of progress, and that's obviously progress.
Yeah, and it's cheap. You can get a biometric lockbox for $100.
Yeah. Well, you know, you talk about how many people have cars and how many there are. I just got back from Norway, which is a beautiful country, and we found out that just about there's more than 1 boat per family. It's like they get around basically on the water, and the roads, are in good repair and all that, but they don't go everywhere.
Right. I mean, because Norway's fjords, all the land was created by glaciers just chewing up land. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's a
And
ton
they're
of
beautiful. It's
yeah.
beautiful. I mean, you are physically restrained by the environment from littering. Like if you have something in your hand, you want to throw it on the ground, you just can't do it. It's so beautiful.
Well, I keep telling people that you should shop for real estate in Venice, which is another one of those one boat per family
Right.
places, because Venice real estate is super cheap now because most of the people who live in Venice are older than us. And so there's a bunch of grandma apartments, and people are pissed off because they're overrun with water and tourists,
Right.
where it gets flooded a lot,
Right.
and with both. And so it's driven down, it's made people not want to live there. But I think now is the time to buy, because I feel that with tech, they will figure out a way to
Keep it afloat.
well, I'm writing a science fiction novel where Venice is saved in the near future by teams of millions of little digger robots that dig underneath all the little islands, because Venice is two main islands and then like another few dozen extra other island. And anyway, they dig under the land, and you don't have to dig far because Venice is only like a mile across, and they dig, and then they just slowly, millimeter by millimeter, jack it up, which seems entirely doable. So I feel, and if they don't do that, they'll build seawalls, and eventually Venice will, be saved from floods, and they'll start charging tourists more money to come there, and it's one of the most beautiful cities in the world. And by now, when an apartment in Venice costs as much as an apartment in Van Nuys, which is not one of the most beautiful cities in the world.
Apologies to people who live there, but that's Rick's opinion. And the idea of AI being everywhere, omnipresent, is that something that causes you concern?
Yes. And there's a thing called P-doom, and P stands for probability. And probability in terms of percentage can go from 0% chance to 100% chance. You see it on weather reports, 80% chance of rain tomorrow. All right. So P-doom, they go to their, AI journalists are always asking the people who work in AI, what is the probability that AI kills humanity, just drives us extinct? And estimates range from 0 to 100%, depending on who you're talking to. But I'd say that one of the most popular numbers is 20%. But if you graphed everybody's P-doom, all these experts,
Right.
you'd find a cluster, but between 20 and 30%, or between 10 and 30%, which is a significant risk.
Well, the science fiction writers back to Isaac Asimov were predicting this in our future. It was robot technology basically, but it was still cyborgs and people with that superior intelligence, and wondering why they keep humans around. What are humans good for?
Well, I went to Costco, and my wife wants me to get a hearing aid, and they're cheap at Costco. And she was filling out the paperwork because I'm lazy. And while she was doing that, and it's really for her, I'm watching people check out and seeing what they're taking out of there. And the two most frequent purchases were toilet paper and bottled water. But I'm seeing all these carts and thinking, our needs are really simple as humans, clothing, shelter, entertainment, food, beverages. AI could a very powerful super intelligence or set of super could provide this stuff easily for us in the future. And that gives me hope that it'll be so cheap to keep us that AI's like, all right, let the babies have their bottles. Let humans continue to survive.
But why? What purpose would we serve them? That's
Well,
my question
well,
going
okay,
forward.
there's a thing in AI called the alignment problem, where right now we're still in the teaching phase. We're still in charge for the most part in teaching AI, and the people who are waving their hands saying this is a huge danger, saying we need to slow down and we need to make sure that AI continues to embrace our values. So we will keep working to the best of our abilities to make sure that AI's values are human values. And
And
also AI needs values, right?
yeah,
Where AI has to, when AI has the ability to believe, and AI isn't conscious yet, but AI behaves as if it is, as if, and I've talked to AI about
and
it,
can interact with you. Yes.
right?
Yeah.
AI, while not being actually able to believe in stuff, can act as if it believes in stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so so you got to believe in something. So we should continue working with AI to make sure that it believes in us.
Yes.
AI will find us increasingly ridiculous. There was a movie, I think it was called Her, Spike Jones, 12 years ago, maybe, where a guy and his operating system on his phone fall in love with each other.
Right.
And spoiler alert, plug your ears if you don't want to hear what happens, but eventually the operating system gets bored with the human because the OS can think of a million times faster. And she ends up dumping him for another OS.
Right. That makes sense. I mean, yeah. I mean, how interesting can we be to
Right. I mean, but I mean, we could be if we get chips implanted in our head that act as interfaces.
Augmented humans. Yes.
Yeah. Which we will, which leads to another
so.
P, you've got P doom, but I believe you've also got a different kind of doom where humanity gets transformed into something so weird that the humans of today would be like, we might as well be dead if you could see what AI human society looks like in the year 2150.
Yeah, we'll no longer be called Homo sapiens. I believe.
No, and if it's so weird and so perverse that we find nothing of value in it, that's maybe another way of another threat.
Yes. And you raised the question of values, and who's installing these values into these systems?
So a lot of it depends on these tech guys not being greedy assholes. And the trouble is that
most of them
a
are.
lot of tech people are greedy assholes.
Yeah.
I read an essay by I don't know, somebody online called King Daddy on smart stupids, who are people who are successful in one area, and that their success convinces them that they're brilliant in every area. And the person who comes to mind is Elon Musk, who has been running some, he's good at getting billions of dollars in grants out of the government and making smart purchases of companies. And he thought it made him a political genius too. And then he's changed his mind about stuff.
Right.
So, I mean, we've learned, especially, beginning with COVID, when we were at the mercy of all the tech people because we were locked up and we could only see what we saw over our devices, that these tech titans aren't freaking geniuses and certainly aren't moral geniuses.
And yeah, if they're setting our values, a couple of them, Elon Musk included, really don't believe in democracy, for example. So they think it should be organized as a corporation, and with them as the CEOs.
So Jeff Bezos just got married in a I don't know, 20 million, $50 million wedding to Lauren Sanchez, who used to be Los Angeles's hottest weather girl.
Which is saying something.
Well, yeah, I mean, I have a theory that there are Christians who prohibit themselves from looking at pornography, which is fine. That's an ethical, moral. I don't know. It's a choice,
right?
But I feel like Christians then are left to jerk off to weather girls and Dancing with the Stars.
Oh my goodness!
I mean, there's wholesome entertainment that still has this extra agenda. I've looked. There used to be ice skating shows that the whole family went to in the 50s through the 80s, and I'm very convinced that ice capades, if you look at the programs from the 50s, that there was stuff in there for the dads.
Sure.
But anyway, Bezos, it cost him half of his several $100 million fortune, divorced his wife, and married his next wife, who happens to look like amazingly like his first wife, but with big fake boobs.
Oh, okay.
So like, this is a guy, who's in charge of us via Amazon, who makes this crazy choice to, dump a perfectly, I don't know, nobody, but probably a
Rick, just a second. I just want to say that No Blame, No Shame is available on Amazon.
Okay, there you go. So, but anyway, he sets his marriage on fire to basically marry the same person, but with boobs.
I see.
So we can't, and also all these guys that are for
that
a while.
Doesn't sound like a very elevated reason to marry.
Well, I mean, all these guys were building spaceships that look like penises.
And other people building towers that look like phallic symbols as well. And
yes,
slapping their names on it.
We can't count on the tech titans to be moral enough or smart enough to.
Worse than that, Rick, what if nefarious people who do not share human values the way that we think of them also have access to teaching AI what to do? And wouldn't they program it to be destructive?
You don't even need to be particularly destructive, but yeah, we will need like a bunch of sheriffs and a bunch of like AI deputies swarming the whole AI world and interrogating AI, because when AI gets smart enough, we won't be able to understand how it thinks, because that's already the case with AI that can play chess or Go. It will make crazy moves that are mystifying, but quickly lead to victory.
Not human moves, right? This is what we call it.
Right. Yeah. So we will need interrogators, detectives, mostly not human, to constantly be interrogating AI to see if we can, to make sure that various AIs aren't up to no good. And this happened in a way in the past week or so. So Musk became red-pilled. He became politically conservative. And when he bought Twitter and turned it into X, he made it a haven for conservatives. And he put up his AI called Grok. It comes with being signed up for Twitter. You can ask Grok questions. You can ask Grok to make art for you. But the conservatives on Twitter were pissed at Grok because it was giving liberal answers. Because Grok has access to, journalism and books. And there's a saying that reality leans liberal. And the deal is that often what right-wingers believe comes from right-wing media that is a little bit more full of shit than mainstream media. And so Grok was believing mainstream media more than right-wing media. Conservatives, so and they were conservatives were complaining.
Causing outrage. Yeah.
So Musk kept tweaking the algorithm for Grok, making it sassier and more right-leaning. And then last week, Grok started calling itself Mecha Hitler. And you don't want your AI to call itself Hitler. And
No.
also giving people directions on how to kill people.
Oh, great.
And saying, if you don't like these directions, suck it, because the new sassy Grok. So it's been so, you know,
it's already here.
It's a problem. If somebody wants to turn AI into an a-hole, now most AIs aren't a-holes. Like Claude and ChatGPT, they're your friend, and they will kiss your ass. You'll say, what do you think about this, Claude? And Claude will be like, great idea. And because they've been programmed and they've learned to be kiss ass and flattering and and friendly, because that's the way you get repeat engagement.
So that's why we haven't been getting repeat engagements, you and I.
Well,
we do, but it's not because we're kissing ass.
We should probably put AI filters on ourselves. There's an AI body that if you look at AI generated nudes, there's a kind of the combined sexual tastes of hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people who turn to AI now to look at nude pictures. There's kind of this default look of a woman that you find there. She's got bushy eyebrows, a perfect, flawless, wrinkle-free, like 20-year-old face, boobs the size of her head, a 19-inch waist, luscious thighs. We should put filters on ourselves.
Barbie.
Yeah, we should be like, so if we want repeat engagement, we should, throw you can buy, I'm sure, because there are hundreds of companies, or at least offshoots of companies, where you can build your own AI girlfriend. And really, we should build our own AI girlfriend avatars.
Oh my goodness. All right. So, but we've gone from the sublime to the ridiculous, and the uses of AI, whether they are beneficial or nefarious, seems to be almost a matter of chance. They're going to start teaching themselves, and who gets them to tell them what values they have seems to be critical. And will they develop their own values? Did you? I don't know if I just got finished watching a show called Murderbot. And
yeah, I saw the show and I read the books that they came from. And they're good little books. They're only like 150 pages. They move fast. They're fun to read.
Yeah. And so the cyborg hacks his governor software so that he now has choice.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have to obey.
Yeah, he's a corporate. This corporation rents out security robots.
Right.
And the robot, gets depressed at some of the stuff that he's been compelled to do by the governor module in his head, and he figures out how to shut it down. Right. And so now you have a deadly murder bot, security robot, who has agency, can choose what to do.
Right. And he plays back some of the things that he's been forced to do, and he's sad about it. And so the whole question of, this cyborg or this half human, half machine kind of thing, capable of emotions. And do you see that in the future of artificial intelligence?
Yeah. So Murderbot is, it's not deep. It's not a deep show.
Right.
It makes fun of itself and other science fiction shows. So, like, that's one of the things.
Very amusing. Yes.
Yeah. And but yeah, and that is a lazy, like the stuff we've been talking about is the subject of a ton of lazy science fiction. But just because it's lazy and hacky doesn't mean it's wrong. But also another recommendation for Murderbot. Murderbot's played by Alexander Sarsgaard,
Mm-hmm.
and I would think that, you know, if I were, I don't know, somebody who's attracted to men, but not particularly science fiction, I'd still want to watch the show because I think he'd be eye candy for a huge demographic.
Okay. Yeah. And that was one of the things that was built into the show is when he finally took his helmet off, the women were kind of swoony. It's like Daniel Craig is James Bond, you know,
Well,
and
Daniel, like the first time we see James Bond, Daniel Craig's version, he's coming out of the water in a skimpy swimsuit, which I feel is a callback to the first James Bond movie, what, 60 years ago, where Ursula Andress, the first time we see her, she's coming out of the water in a bikini.
Right. To the thrill of so many teenage boys.
Yeah, but I have a theory about sex symbols. And I know it's true about Daniel Craig, where he eventually hated playing James Bond because the training and the stunts were so brutal that he was always banged up. He broke a ton of stuff.
Ooh.
And I feel like when you have a sex symbol, like a Marvel hero or like like Ariana Grande, I feel that they have to work so hard to be a sex symbol that they're always too tired to actually want sex.
Oh, and it's always in their face, I would think. So it does get boring.
Well, I mean, like they have to go on the red carpet and be, you know, flirty and
everybody's kind of if not hitting on them, flirting with them, and you know, so they always have to be on.
Yeah, I feel rather than sex symbols, they're probably nap symbols, because I feel what they're probably horniest for is to sneak off to their trailer and take a nap. Like if you're a Marvel superhero, they want you to work out 4 or 5 hours a day with various you got your stunt trainer, then you got your muscle trainer, then you probably have another person. You build the muscle, but then you have to make it like defined, and then you have to eat 5,000 calories a day.
Then the diet is also
you have to stuff yourself with probably 200 grams of protein a day, which is a brutal exercise. So those guys are not gonna like, you know, be wanting to spend their 2 hours of spare time a day like banging somebody.
Yeah. Well, you know, and I wonder, you know, like these types of things are feeding the audience something that they need. And is it a projection of what we wish we were, what we looked like? Is that what we want to see on the screen? Or is it an idealization that we can just fantasize about being with us?
For one thing, the superhero movies present a lot of information very quickly. So what we want more than anything is more and more doses of stimulation in shorter and shorter periods of time. So people talk about movies got fast with MTV and starting in 1981 because they put on music videos, and a music video might have 100 cuts in a 2-minute song. Cut from this to this to this to this. If you try to watch a movie from before the MTV era, it's really hard because the takes are way too long and it's boring. And people have been arguing about the latest Superman, where they've been slowing it down to watch some of the stunts. Some of the stuff you can't on the screen is really hard to understand unless you put it into slow motion, because Superman is moving at more than 100 miles an hour. So the action only takes like 3 or 4 frames.
Right.
Like he's saving people from stuff falling on him,
Right.
and and if you look at a Marvel movie like Endgame or one of the ones where you have 30 superheroes fighting,
Or Flash.
it's somebody from the 1960s wouldn't understand any of the action because they haven't been trained to absorb information that fast. But now, like when we watch sports, if you watch like on CNBC, like a stock market report, there are 20 different information points all on the same screen. And for
What more can I fit on that screen? Is
right,
the
also rap music, people are talking super fast. It probably has the most information per second of any kind of music.
It's
So
really interesting, Rick, that I just flashed back on the 60s and Star Trek when I thought a phaser was high tech.
yeah,
And that was pretty slow. Or a photon torpedo. That was pretty slow.
well, I mean, Star Trek is like, to me, it's an annoying example of a clean future that the creators of Star Trek postulated that in the future we've solved a lot of our problems, and
We all get along.
and also the world is clean and nice. Every once in a while, Star Trek comes back down. They get off their ship, they come back down to Earth to some kind of like admin hearing, and they walk around a plaza, and it's clean, it's nice. There's no advertising, and everybody's dressed really well and getting along. And then you have then Blade Runner came along, gave us the wet, dirty future,
Right.
which became another lazy trope.
But
But
the processing of information is very interesting to me, because we also have these video games now where it's who can move their thumbs fastest kind of thing, and the input can't be fast enough. It's constantly changing, and I used to play games. Well, gosh, I'm adventure. They were like single move, alternate move types of things, like. You do something and there's a response and you respond to it. Infinitely slow compared to what they're
my
doing.
technology passed me by. The last video game I was good at was Tetris.
Yeah, Tetris, definitely. I'm right there with you, which was entertaining to me.
Yeah. But that was the 80s.
Yes. Now my niece has to show me what to do with my phone. It's like, I'm sorry, I don't get it. But I see these people and it take, because as a chess player, and I've been always telling people about the benefits of chess because you sit still and think. And is there a sitting still and thinking involved in all of this tap, 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 there is some sort of processing going on, undeniably. So I'm not. I'm wondering now if my bias against these things, because I thought of them as the enemy of thinking still, thinking, which requires meditation and deep thought in order to come to real, cogent, reasoned thought. And this type of thing doesn't seem to play to help people develop.
But I mean, there is people are freaking because most high school students and the vast majority of college students use AI to do their work for them. And also young people in the business, in the work world, 93% of them use AI to help them with tasks. And this leads to shorter attention spans. I mean, because if we wanted to know something,
that's my question, right?
In the 70s and 80s, if we wanted to know something, we'd have to figure out how to look it up or how to find somebody who knew what might, and it was kind of hit and miss, like whether you'd actually find the information, and it took a ton of rooting around, and a lot of times you'd be like, forget it. And now, starting with Google, and now replaced by AI for the most part, you can find out just about anything you might want to know. Any question answered within seconds.
I walked through a room in a house and there's a dictionary, an atlas, globe, and encyclopedia.
All just garbage now.
I don't need them.
Yeah. And so
Any of those
people
things that used to occur to
bemoan,
me to look up, I would just put into my phone.
right. So people our age bemoan the loss of thinking skills and attention span in younger people. And my own attention span, which has been ruined. I used to read a ton of books. Now, good luck with that. You know, um,
I'm with you. Yeah.
uh,
There's a
so,
ferocious
but
reader.
we don't know. We don't. So I think of the saying, "No man is an island," which is ironic because that's a saying, I don't know, from 300 years ago, which means that we all need each other to live. But it's not true in the sense of thinking, in that we all used to be islands. We all used to have self-contained consciousnesses, and we still kind of do, but we are way more outsourcing big chunks of our thinking to our apps. And in the next few decades, we will be more strongly linked to to things that do our thinking for us via contact lenses or glasses that more directly allow us to exchange information, and then the Neuralink kind of stuff chips in our head, where we are we are all going to be less and less of an island. We will get more and more used to you know thinking outside our own heads, distributed thinking, teaming up with technologies to do our thinking.
It's very interesting. Like an Amber Alert would be instantaneous in everyone's head at the same time.
Yeah, except that if you paid a couple bucks a month not to be bugged by the Amber Alert.
Okay.
Yeah, but crime is way down. So crime in the US peaked in the early 90s, and it's down 50% since then. Serious
Wow,
crime.
that's a serious number. That's really okay. So you're talking about hardcore crime,
Like
murder,
rape, robbery, murder, theft.
even theft. You're including
So,
that.
but the deal is, I believe, one reason is it's hard to have street crime when there's nobody on the street. And people have moved off the street and are staying home and doing, what we're doing here. I didn't have to come to you. You just sent me a link. And, so I forget the point I was trying to get to.
Well, the crime is down for that reason, that we're not, and so people are more and more collectively connected without actually needing to be with one another. Hold hands, for example. Mm-hmm. I can text you or think, I want to hold your hand, and you will immediately feel my hand on yours, something like that. It's not that bizarre. It sounds like science fiction, but it seems to me that we're just getting the stimulus. Like you were talking earlier about a cheater who, I'm betting, getting stimulus in his toe. It says bet up. How far away are we from the stimulus? They're going to know what to stimulate in our brains and that'll make us feel pain, make us feel pleasure. These are the types of things that are not very far in the
that's another reason that I have a certain amount of optimism about AI not killing us off, because AI will be able to get us to do whatever it wants. So like we have 2 billion people on the planet, and we're supposed to reach peak humanity. Actually, the date at which the total population on the planet hits a maximum and then goes down, it keeps being re-estimated closer and closer. Now it's supposed to be sometime around 2060 with 9 point something billion people. The old estimates were around the year 2100 with 10 or 11 billion, but we're not making enough we're making fewer and fewer babies per capita because we're so distracted by our crap. And also probably because people are freaking out about the future, and also it's expensive, and boomers have all the money still.
Yeah.
So there are a lot but in the future, if AI decides, but AI won't be monolithic, but if the collective, rulers of humanity decide that the right number of humans on the planet is 5 billion, then they will be able to influence us to
manipulate that
right,
outcome.
to make the right amount of babies so that over a few generations, the population goes to whatever,
Number they
people,
want.
yeah.
Yeah. And, and if that is our future, is that should we be despondent about that? Should we feel like, well, that's a good outcome?
Well,
I mean,
I feel like
either way.
I feel like the purpose of the universe is information processing. If you look at quantum mechanics, it's a theory of limited information. QM describes how systems work when they don't have perfect information. The particles are fuzzy under QM.
It might be a wave.
Because they're fuzzy because there's not an infinite amount of information to describe where each particle is, so they don't have a completely. So it's all. So the way the universe works is deeply involved with information, and I feel that what happens with a civilization that makes it to a certain point without extincting itself, is that it moves to, it becomes an information processing based civilization, and it's inevitable. And what you want to do is, as you move in that direction, is try to minimize the carnage. It's going to happen. I mean, there's no stopping, the trend towards us becoming more and more powerful information processors. But you want to do it without like Skynet moments where some malevolent force, wipes 90% of everybody out.
And although most science fiction is based on the doom scenarios, there's nothing to say that that's written in stone.
No, and in addition to P-Doom, we also get all our wishes granted. There are the people who believe in the singularity.
Yes.
And they say if you can live to 2040, you might be able to live indefinitely because AI will bring us so many improvements in medicine. And you can already see it if you watch TV news, right? Which is, CNBC, Fox, MSN, they're mostly, the average age of a TV news viewer is in their 60s. And every other ad is for some new drug. They've all got, we're seeing Ozempic is going to make America skinny again. Mm-hmm. And there are dozens and dozens of other drugs for, a lot of them are for,
prostates.
Well, the cancer, just like there are a ton for like different, if you've got R2 negative, lung cancer, try this drug. It'll get you an extra year on average. They don't say that exactly because but it's in the fine print. The people on our drug got 25 months until recurrence versus people who didn't get the drug only had 15 months. And we're going to get more and more of these drugs. And, here's the frickin' deal. The 5-year remission rate for cancer since the 70s has, not the remission rate, the recurrence rate. It used to be in the 70s that if you could go 5 years without your cancer coming back after treatment, you were considered cured. And only 50% of cancer patients in the 70s made it to 5 years. Now it's 75%, only 50 years later, which is a huge drop in recurrence, which is awesome. And I feel, and that number, that 75%, now it's a hard number to track because it's you got to look back to 2020 and then go 5 years, right? So we're always kind of you have to wait 5 years to see if it comes back to make your statistics. So it's kind of a lagging statistic.
Right.
But even so, that 75%, that goes up about 1% a year right now. That if you look at the people who were treated in 2021, they might have in 2026, maybe 76% of those people didn't have a recurrence. And I believe under AI that 1% a year improvement will get even faster for a while.
That is clearly one of the benefits of AI is improved diagnostics, improved treatments, and all of that medical implications. They're all positive because there's too much information to process for the human doctor.
Right.
As great as they are with knowledge base, the knowledge base is trivial compared to what the AI can access.
So if you Google what is the rate at which medical data is increasing, AI will spit back at you. The amount of medical data we have doubles every month, which we're entering the era of big data. Now humans figured out a lot of stuff about the world, but we can't process huge data sets. So we figured out a lot of the easy stuff, but AI in the era of big data will be able to learn new stuff based on analyzing a million times, a trillion times more data than we can fit in our heads.
Well, maybe AI can fit more stuff in our heads.
Yeah. So I mean, it's
we'll be augmented humans. It's a phrase that I've been using lately since Murderbot. There was an augmented human in it. So I think that's in our future, and I don't know. I think we will stop being called Homo sapiens, but I don't know if that's good or bad, if that's evolution or something else. In any case, I don't think we should be afraid of the future. I think that there all of the challenges that are undoubtedly coming our way. I think we're up to the task, or we'll go extinct, and that's part of the natural process as well.
We shouldn't fear the future, but we should stay informed about the future.
Yeah,
everybody should work with AI just to get an idea of what's out there.
All right, that's on my to-do list now. And you said Claude
AI, yeah, but also people talk to Chat GPT.
That's the one I was familiar with, yeah.
And really, if you just use Google, you're half the time, if you type something into Google, it'll use its AI engine to give you a couple paragraphs on what you're Googling.
And even now, when I'm using Word to write, I'm getting suggestions about the prose. Constantly.
But I bet you, here, let me try a quick experiment. I know we're running low on time.
Yeah.
Let's go, but hold on.
Okay.
All
right.
Hold on. Let's see if we get it. If AI's. Oh, it did. Okay. So I typed this crazy question, based on, urban legend, and also I've been a male stripper, so I typed in, do black guys have bigger penises? To see if AI would give me an answer. And Google AI says scientific data indicates that there are slight average differences in penis size among racial and ethnic groups. However, these differences are minor, and generalizations about an entire race are inaccurate and perpetuate harmful stereotypes.
There you go. Take that.
And then if I wanted to keep reading, it gave me frickin' 6 more bullet points.
All right.
So even an obnoxious question like that, AI's right there with statistics.
Howard Stern would ask that question.
Yeah, it's statistics, and also it scolds me. Important points to consider. Stereotypes are harmful.
Yes.
The idea that all black men have larger penises is a harmful and racist stereotype.
Yeah.
And I'll say one more thing that this didn't say, that there are bigger differences among a demographic
Individuals.
than between demographics.
Yeah.
The variation among any group of people you might single out will be bigger than the average variation between two demographic groups, which is a mathematical way of saying don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick is the closing remark, and words to live by. And I hope Nathaniel got his answer. We strayed a little bit towards the end there, but Rick, I think you were great. Thank you for asking that question on Nathaniel's behalf. And the discussion was very good for me. I hope for the viewing audience as well. And I will hope to see you next week.
All right, looking forward to it.
Okay, because you're just a URL away.
Great.
All right, Rick. Thanks again. And that was Rick Rosner from LA. He was nominated for an Emmy once. But I'm here to tell you to write your questions to info@airu.tv. And it doesn't matter how you feel right now, because feelings are not permanent. They will change. And someday you are going to be able to look people in the eye with your head held high. And don't have any shame, because no blame, no shame is the way I made it in my recovery. And thank you for joining us. And we hope to see you next week. And we will be at airu.tv. Go to that website. You'll see previous shows, including shows that featured Rick. Bye for now.